Our next guest helped put artists like Anderson .Paak and Aquafina on the radar through his popularity in the underground rap scene. He once looked up to the OGs of hip hop, but now he's considered an OG himself. Now, Jonnie Park, better known as Dumbfoundead, is putting his story on the page in his new memoir, Spit, A Life in Battles. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. First, let's start off with decoding the book title, because it may be confusing to some people who are not aware, because Mama taught us not to spit in public, but spit means something there.
Yeah, spit, slang for rapping, kicking a freestyle. And I think for me, it was a title that, obviously just catches your attention and it's maybe considered disrespectful the way we were growing up with our parents, but it also was an act that earned me respect in my arena.
Absolutely. And it earned you that respect because we say life in battles because it was a competition.
Yeah, definitely. Battle rap in particular is kind of the area where I was thriving in hip hop, freestyle rap, and battle rapping, and kind of just verbally defending myself when some things got a little crazy and offensive in these freestyle ciphers. I kind of combined humor and wit. I always say the classroom kind of was my first stage, and then I took that onto these open mics, and that's why I earned my stripes.
Yeah, you have a great story in so many different ways, and part of that, as we mentioned, this month we're celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Month. You are an immigrant to this country.
Yes, I came here when I was 3. My parents are full Korean, but there was this huge migration of Koreans to South America at the time in the 80s. So my parents are actually from Argentina, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I came to Los Angeles when I was 3 years old and been here ever since.
Yeah, and you touch on the fact that your Asian American experience was different from so many other people. We oftentimes think, oh yes, you come and you become a lawyer, doctor, engineer, and life is great, right? Which is a stereotype. You went through some tough stuff when you grew up in your family.
Yeah, I think just a very non-traditional path. And I always say I'm Korean American, but more than anything, I feel like I'm the neighborhood of Koreatown in Los Angeles. And I think we forget how much of an ecosystem a neighborhood has and the impact that it has on you within a few block radius or a couple of mile radius of your home. And I was influenced majorly by different regions of Los Angeles, whether it was a predominantly Latino community, a Black community in South LA, to Koreatown, my home base. And it gave me the confidence to wear my culture on my sleeve. When I'm going around my neighborhood, I have Korean signs all over the place. The menus are written in Korean, which instilled a lot of pride and confidence in me.
Yeah, you also had a great work ethic. You worked in the family shop selling jewelry and trinkets, but you also, an impact on you was the whole idea of rap and what was happening in the streets. But a lot of that too was a form of therapy, if you will, to get away from what was happening at home.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like within my household, this is a testimony to my parents being immigrant parents who were working long hours, which allowed me and my sister to kind of run around. Sometimes we get into trouble, but luckily I did discover hip hop, which kept me busy, kept me passionate about something, and kept me distracted from things I could have gotten into in worse situations, So at times I didn't feel seen in the household. So I found a second family in hip hop as I was roaming the city.
Yeah. All right. Do you remember the very first moment that you connected to hip hop and thought, okay, this is cool not only to listen to, but I'm going to do this myself?
Yeah, when I was growing up, my parents' shop in downtown Los Angeles was right next to an electronics store owned by this Indian family, and they were blasting music out of the boombox when I was about 7 years old. And obviously, I'm from Los Angeles, so it was mostly West Coast hip hop. I'm talking Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, NWA. So those are the artists that kind of I was first exposed to. And if they were playing rock music all day, then I would have become a rock musician. But they were playing hip hop music, and I was so drawn to the lyrics and the audacity and the boldness, and that's what I was just really. It was so magnetic that it got me immediately into it. And I even dabbled in all other elements of hip hop, whether it was graffiti, breakdancing, or DJing. But I sucked at all those things and I thrived in the emceeing portion of it.
And, we've had many of those rappers like Snoop Dogg, you mentioned, Master P, Ice-T, all of them on the show. And they all speak to the fact that, yeah, it was something that they could own. It could be their own. It was that creative outlet. And for you, in fourth grade, writing kind of was on your mind as well. You wrote an essay about Christopher Reeve and it impressed your teacher. How important was it to have a teacher give you that affirmation?
Oh, it was extremely important. I never really meshed so much with school, but I do remember those key moments where certain teachers made an impact, and that might just be a simple compliment as such, like you just said about this essay. And I just knowing that I might be good in this one thing, it kind of makes me lean towards it more, and pursue it a little bit more. And obviously, it's taken me this far from freestyle rap into writing a memoir and becoming a screenwriter as well.
Yeah, yeah. And the other affirmation was when you started writing online in the early days on the internet, and then you had these people following you. You found your herd, if you will. All right. So writing became an outlet for self-expression, and then of course the hip hop influence. And now we're putting stuff together. All right, how did you get your name? Because you got to have your hip hop name.
Yeah, I would say your nickname finds you. You don't find the nickname. It's given to you, whether it's from your neighborhood, your friends. And I got that when I was 14 years old, and I just turned 40 this year. So it's a tough name. I don't know if it's aged so well as I enter these boardroom meetings and I'm introducing myself as Dumbfoundead, So I've been going by Johnny Park a little more than my nickname, but it's such a huge part of me. I think it's hard to let go when there's a whole generation of kids that grew up on you as Dumbfoundead.
Yeah, and of course, when people would hear you, they go, you're in these battles, like, wow, that was like, I'm just dumbfounded right now.
That was the whole idea. I thought I was a real clever kid at 14, and I kind of changed up the name, and I was like, Dumbfoundead. I'm not dumb, really.
Yeah. Whenever we talk to comedians, we always ask them, okay, the first moment up on stage. Now it's great when your friends and your mama and them say, you're really funny or you're really good. But when you finally get up on stage and you got other people who are just as good, if not better, that can be pretty scary. But you did the open mic workshop in South Central LA, and it's located home to the big underground names in Limerick Park, and you were exposed to raw, experimental, abstract forms of rap and some of the best people out there. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I think it's very humbling when you think you are the best in your field, at least in your circle. Mine being high school cafeterias and these house parties that I used to attend. And you go into a place where some of the best perform, and you're mind blown, and you kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out how to become as good as they are, and you start falling in love with this place that is also hard to be at. It's hard to participate when you're not the best, but you keep coming back and you kind of keep chiseling away at your craft, and you sharpen your sword and you get better. And that place was that for me. And that's also where I found my second family in hip hop and my crew. And I just fell in love with a place that kind of shaped me into who I am.
Yeah, you took it into the studio, and then now your latest project, staff writer on Netflix's Beef, and you feel like, because of your background, obviously that's what helped you to land this job.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's my first staff writing job on the show, on any television show. And people ask me always, what skills did you learn in hip hop and in freestyle and battle rap that you're able to implement into a writer's room? Well, a writer's room is 8 to 10 people surrounded around a table. And it reminds me of a cipher back in the day when I was freestyling and knowing when to kind of jump in with the idea, knowing to fall back, knowing when to read a room, and having just this free will to throw out ideas and spitball and see what sticks on the wall. So there are more similarities than differences than I thought.
Yeah, all right, Spit, A Life in Battles. It's a story about how hip-hop helped an Asian kid from LA to find himself, but any kid, any person can read this book and find themselves, if you will. You use your example, but so many times we're harder on ourselves than other people ever will be. But when you read this book and you see that things are possible, things are always possible.
Oh yeah, anything is possible. I clearly came from a very non-traditional path into Hollywood, and I think for anyone, for me it was hip hop, but for any kid around the world, it could be anything,
All right. My name is Debbie D, and I want you to know I'm so glad Dumbfoundead joined us on the show. Thank you so much.
Nice. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate it.
All right. And you can find Spit, A Life in Battles anywhere books are sold. Make it part of your summer reading.